Ginzburg, will you please introduce our lovely guest for today?
Absolutely. I am honored to once again bring on one of our shows Angel Orsini, who is a wrestler, a martial artist, an actress, a humanitarian. We're going to talk about some of her beautiful work that she does in support of dogs and, the arts. And, we're going to tackle everything throughout the show. But I know Buddy's chomping at the bit. He has a bunch of questions. He's done a lot of research. So, Buddy, why don't you open?
Well, first of all, I'm excited to say that you're our very first female guest on the show, so congratulations there. And I've been a huge fan of women's wrestling, and I've watched it ever since the Glow days. But you've worked with a couple of people that I know, a couple of ladies that I know really well. One of whom is Susumu Sakai.
Yes.
Is she like the nicest person? Is she like Hello Kitty in a human form, basically?
Yes, she is, but when she gets in that ring, Hello Kitty is gone out the window.
She's an amazing performer. I mean, just jaw-dropping. The fact that I was on a card with her and Misawa, believe it or not. They came to visit us here in Pro Wrestling Iron because the Pro Wrestling Iron had to deal with Noah. And I just was so amazed at her professionalism. And I wanted to know, you've worked Japan, right?
Yes, I did go to Japan, but not for pro wrestling. I went as a professional mixed martial arts fighter, and I actually took on the #1 woman over there, Yumiko Hota. At the time, she was All Japan #1 girl. And she was #1 for, I think, maybe her whole career on and off pretty much. She was a monster. She's like 5'10" and like solid beast. It was
it's amazing.
Good. I enjoyed my experience fighting her. It was excellent.
That's great. Tell me how you got started in wrestling and the martial arts.
Well, I'm a survivor of a really terrible, I was almost murdered. I was assaulted terribly. There was a serial murderer and rapist who was going through where I lived. And unfortunately, our paths crossed. I was just 19 years old. And it was the first time I ever lived on my own. And I'm lucky that I lived because other girls died. And that really traumatized me very badly. And I had severe anxiety, post-traumatic stress, and martial arts was a way of me taking my life back. And I needed a philosophy too. And so that opened up my soul, that allowed me to heal, because it allowed me to build a new character. Instead of carrying around hurt and pain and fear and depression, I started to get empowered with hope and self-love and healing and calm and, confidence in myself. And then I got a new vision for myself and realized, before I was like, oh, woe was me, this terrible thing happened. And I was always, trying to make myself feel better. But then I realized, hey, that thing happened, but I lived. I'm actually a badass, dude, because there was this huge guy that actually killed people. And I was able to defend myself without any kind of teaching to back me up. It was all instinctual. So once that kind of pivoted for me, that was it. There was no stopping me. I was going straight to the top with that. As a matter of fact, I'm an excellent fighter because I have a certain natural athleticism and a certain instinct. And I knew that this was my purpose. You take something that's painful and you turn it into a purpose. Life is an opportunity to create meaning. And so it became my vision for myself to become empowered. And then I had this talent, and I was going to take this talent and max it out and become a world champion. And during the course of that, I wanted to also empower other women and be like, give them hope and courage to overcome their monsters in their life. And I'm still on that mission now.
Wow, it's very
So,
inspiring.
Can I just quickly add something for people struggling during COVID? I practice Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, meditation, and it's all very, very calming and peaceful. I mean, I'm not ready to go to Japan and compete in a ring by any means, but just for the average person, these things are so positive. And I'm not going to do an hour lecture on it, but if you see the old Asian people in the park, that's Tai Chi, and
Or Qigong.
Qigong is the exercise part of Tai Chi. And it's all just a beautiful, moving meditation, and you just feel good afterwards. And people are looking for outlets, and, you know, drugging yourself or drinking yourself to oblivion because you're depressed is not the answer.
right.
So I'm just putting that out there.
Well, what fascinates me is that you are part of this transition of when women's wrestling was really kind of a joke. You know, I mean, Glow, as fun as it wasn't. The wrestling itself was just terrible. I mean, it was really not high quality stuff. Versus, you know, where you got involved was more in like the post Medusa Michelli era, where, you know, Medusa really started women being taken seriously. The first woman that I saw that I'd say she could really kick my ass if I, you know, stepped in the ring with her. And then I actually started training with Sarah Del Rey. So she was actually in the same. She was a valet, and I was a manager, and she went on, you know, to do, you know, the development of women's talent in the WWE, and I've been busy, you know, doing my podcast here. So
Yes.
someone made it a little bit further than I did, and all of that. But part of it was, I think she had an amazing strength of will to pursue being taken seriously as a female combatant versus just being, you know, pardon my French, a piece of ass, you know, and just being there for the looks of a valet, and to just, you know, hit a guy but then run into a corner and cower a little bit and go, oh, you can't hit me, you can't hurt me, that kind of thing. You know, Sarah Del Rey, cheerleader Melissa was also in our same group of lady, you know, talents that we had, and they were women that could really kick your ass if you stepped out of line. And I think that changed a lot of that mentality in the early 2000s. Did you feel like that sort of thing was going on when you were involved, and how were you involved in helping develop that?
Oh, definitely. So the woman who trained me was Liz Chase. She was an original Moolah girl, and she was on the road with Wendy Richter and Leilani Kai and Judy Martin and Princess Victoria, Velvet McIntyre. That was her crew that she would go to Japan and also all around this country. So, and at the time, Luna Vachon was just getting done with WWE. So I was really fortunate. I was already friends with Luna. We lived in the same neighborhood down in South Florida. So, and I had already met Medusa Michelli. So I could see that it was a time when everybody really wanted women's wrestling to be more about athleticism and do what the guys were doing. And so that's when I came in. It was like everybody was talking about it, you know, that we wanted to break out of this, you know, stereotypical pull hair, blah, blah, blah stuff, you know. And so that was I was all in. I bought in on that. You know, here I was getting ready for my first match, and China is living with my trainer and getting ready for her tryouts at WWE. So she ends up being my first match.
Oh, wow.
And so I got to work out with her. I think it was like 6 to 8 weeks, you know, and that really opened it up for me because she was already wrestling men. And I was like, see, this is my vision. I think that we can do this and do this well. And so that was the time, 1996 to 98. You know, I was pushing to break out of that mold. And then I ended up in Atlanta Championship Wrestling with Teddy Long and Rocky Bull Ware. That was their company. And they hired me to wrestle the guys in hardcore matches. And so I was like, yes. I was, but that made a lot of girls mad. And I had enemies like Bambi and Peggy Lee Leather were at a match, and they had wrestled their typical style girl match, and then they saw me out there with hitting guys over the head with garbage lids and and fighting the guys and going outside the ring into the audience and chair surfing. When I came up from there, man, they screamed in my face, "You're a disgrace. What are you doing to women's wrestling?" I mean, they were so mad, they packed up their stuff and they left. Yeah.
How did you react to that?
Hmm?
How did you react to that?
I was just like, hey, man, I'm doing my thing. Y'all do yours. I'm not judging you. That's your style. Nobody's saying that that's not good. There's wrestling needs every kind of style. We need every kind of match. We can't all have the Ring of Honor match on the card. You have to build it up, build it up, build it up. You have to have different things. We have to keep in mind the audience, not what we want. And so I was saying, that's not fair to the audience that you don't allow them to see a variety of different things.
I totally agree. I could sit and watch Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask. I could watch Abdullah the Butcher against the original Sheik, stabbing each other in the head. It's variations on the art of pro wrestling. I totally agree.
Exactly.
So, did you feel that there was maybe some resistance also from the male wrestlers that you went up with, that they were sort of, did they support you, or were they, some of them like, I can't hit a girl?
No, that's kind of funny. They were all like, yeah, I'll wrestle her, until they actually did. They were like, ow, she's just cemento. She's not just stiff. So I didn't have a choice but to do what she wanted, and that's the way I roll. That's why I was like ECW, So, but they loved it and they enjoyed it, and they always were grateful for, because it was a dance. It was a stiff dance, but it was a dance, and they respected me for it. I felt like wrestling needs credibility. It has to be believable. So for me, I need you to be there for me. I need to, somebody needs to grab a hold of me. I'm not gonna not, if there's air there and we're in the middle of the crowd, I knocked a guy out for that. To be honest with you, I kept saying, I'm like, what are you doing? You're not even coming near me. The people can see this. You're not even coming close. I said, one more time, I'm going to take it home for you. He gave me air whiff again, and I just went, boop.
Wow.
Boom. Down he went. 185 pounds.
Wow.
Like
That's
sack of potatoes.
Is that from your martial arts training? You just knew where to hit him?
Yep, exactly.
That's amazing.
Exactly. Right on the chin, push the chin through the back of the head. Done.
Beautiful.
Wow. Maybe they should have put you on Brawl for All. They should have had you.
You know, the crowd loved it. They were like, yeah, did you see that? Look at this girl. They were all going bananas. But it was a couple of people. So it wasn't just a one-on-one match. It was like a four corners of death, Texas something hurricane match. I don't know.
Because it's interesting that you are, a victim of violence, yet, a lot of people do look at women's wrestling and say, well, does that promote violence against women? How do you feel? How do you deal with the dichotomy of that, of people would say that?
Well, I deal with it in that it's not, I'm a trained professional. I'm not just some girl, walking into her apartment at 2:00 in the morning. I'm, a trained professional. I'm a martial artist. I'm a black belt in a couple of different arts. If anybody who looks at me and sees victim is really wrong about that. And all the women that get into the wrestling ring and participate with that are trained. That's what the difference is. It doesn't promote random violence against women, women who put themselves in the position of, I'm a professional and I will tangle with you no matter what your sex or sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter. I'm excellent at what I do, and if you want to challenge me and compete against me in the respectful and honoring the ring of competition, then let's throw it down. But give me your best. Don't try to, make me look bad like I need you to go at 50% or something like this. Oh, I'm
Well,
giving you
Angel,
100%. You better give me 100%.
let me play devil's advocate for 1 second. Every so often on TV, you'll see a male wrestler attack a female wrestler or a manager or a valet or whatever the case may be. And sometimes the dateless wonders enjoy it a little too much. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I'm not responsible for how people perceive what we do.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own thing that's going on, and it's not my job to manage their feelings or, interpretation, because how could I? You know, we're not, none of us are just hatched out of an egg. Everybody's walking around with a whole life experience behind them. And,
Oh, yeah.
so I just do my art and I do it the best that I can in full integrity of what it means to me as a wrestler, as an athlete, as an artist, a performing artist in a way. And I'm trying to tell a story, and hopefully in that story people are learning the lesson,
There
right?
you go. Fair enough, yeah.
So
Buddy?
tell me a little bit more about your martial arts training. Now, why did you choose Taekwondo in particular and then go into Pancrase, which to me, it doesn't get any tougher than Pancrase stuff. I've studied Pancrase myself very intensely, and so I actually studied Okinawan Jiu-Jitsu
Oh, wow.
for 5 years. That's why I knew how to fall in the ring, and I was able to do the stuff that I did as a manager. I think if I had walked in as a manager and just said, "Hey, throw me around," I would have been broken into a million pieces. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for the fighting part of the martial arts like you're involved in. But what made you first decide Taekwondo and then Pancrase? I'd like to know about that transition.
So Taekwondo has continuous fighting, and that's really a fundamental part of getting your black belt. You have to do katas and you learn techniques, and they do have self-defense also, which incorporates a lot of hapkido joint locks, right? Because you should always know how to defend yourself if you're going to get involved in martial arts. Whether you want to compete or not is kind of a separate thing. But so I felt like Taekwondo offered me the best balance because it wasn't really hard. It and I knew that I was going to do many martial arts, and I'm still not done yet studying martial arts and different kinds. Um, so I thought, out of all of those traditional martial arts, Taekwondo really has phenomenal footwork to learn to turn that into boxing and kickboxing. Um, and then also transition into Muay Thai. And I was thinking about all these things. So I thought Taekwondo was a good foundation so that I could also get that self-defense in there. And I was right. It was a good fit for me. And it helped me with my athleticism, all the footwork and the high kicks, and the balance that it takes to be able to do these kicking combinations that they have in Taekwondo, crescent kick, axe kick, spinning hook kick, um, and of course the roundhouse kick in Taekwondo is fundamental and the same in all people who utilize that kick, and they do it in a couple of different variations with the footwork that makes it very tricky to see it coming. So
And are those things you've incorporated those into your ring technique as well?
I don't know if I really did. Maybe a little bit, but I was more when I graduated out of Taekwondo and started to I started training under Bart Vale and doing shoot fighting,
Oh,
which
wow.
he came from Karl Gotch, right? And
Wow.
learn, and Joe Malenko Sr. and
Yeah. Wow.
over there. And and he was going to Japan and had a very good career over there fighting. So when I transitioned to that, I just felt like, yeah, that gave me a good foundation because of that footwork from Taekwondo to be able to then segue into learning how to fight to go on the ground. And I just loved suplexes. So when I started really learning the shoot suplexes,
Wow.
I was like, this is what I'm going to be in pro wrestling. This is for me,
Nice.
you
Yeah.
know, and that's really my style.
Can you also tell me the difference in how you were treated when you went to Japan as a martial artist versus being in the United States? Can you tell me the cultural differences in how they treat their martial artists, especially as a woman? What did you see as a perceptible difference between the two countries?
Well, it was very equal, and women fighters and women wrestlers. See, over there, women do all the same things that men do, and they had their own companies that were packing houses. I mean, I went and I fought in that Queendom. I mean, that was a packed, like, huge stadium. I mean, like a concert, like 20,000 people, and they were, when we came to the building first thing in the morning, like 7 a.m., you know, there were people camped out overnight in line. And so it's really, really, really respected. Mucho respecto. Yeah. I mean, you're like a superstar when you're a fighter over there. Now, when you come over here, everybody's just, the funny thing I could say is, first, being a woman in America, and kind of the condescending way that people treat you when you say you're a fighter, and they look at you and they're like, I'll wrestle you. Yeah, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I'm sick of people say that to me, you know? And I'm just like, dude, you touch me and I'm going to touch you and you're going to wish I never touched you. Okay? Because I'm going to
Yeah.
make it so painful for you that you're, you know, it's not, don't look at me like I'm just here for a good time. Mm-mm. Mistake.
Sarah Del Rey learned how to do her low blows on me, and she missed a lot of times and would hit me squarely right where it counts. I'm not touching any of you ladies, any of you lady wrestlers, if you don't want to be touched. That is I've gotten enough touches the other way around. I used to call her Sarah Stiff because she would, go and do those, face slaps, but she would hit me like right here with her forearm and like clock me right in the side of the head, hit me with her palm right in my ear, and I would just be, and they'd be like, "Oh, buddy, you can't take a hit," and I'm like, "You got next guy up," and the next guy up would go in, and she would just like knock him right on out. So, yeah, no, you ladies have all my respect as far as that goes. But it's so I'm interested to know a little bit more about when you decided to change from martial arts to professional wrestling. What made that transition in your mind, and how did you decide to do that?
Well, there was a context here historically, and a lot of people won't remember this, but when I was fighting from 1996 to 99 professionally, there were a couple of senators and politicians that were trying to get UFC banned. And they were going to different uh, states, and they were countering us. And when we would have these events, and here you are training 6 weeks to get ready, putting everything in your life aside to get ready to fight. And then we would go and it would be canceled.
Wow.
Because these people in the state senate then pass it as a law that this kind of fighting isn't allowed. Part of it was the politics of boxing didn't want it, so a lot of the state athletic commissions, um, were also against it because of its political affiliation with boxing. But I was just like, I can't make a career out of this. I need that payday to come in because I'm planning on X amount of fights per year. And because this is my career and I need to make X amount of dollars. So it was really easy, actually, to say, you know what, I got to focus on pro wrestling now. I can't depend on this. So in 1999, that's when I fought in Pancrase in Dallas, Texas. That was my last fight, and I knew it going in. And I'm like, just not enough money. And now I see the way it is now, and I'm like, well, thank God that I did that and laid that groundwork, because I really showed up when I fought, and they were good fights. And so, hopefully that helped open some doors and allowed people the imagination to say, hey, women could just be another, whole division and more opportunity for us to make money. But they had to clear up that political environment first and get on the right track, which they did, obviously.
So do you like the way that women's wrestling has evolved? I mean, we've now had women main eventing pay-per-views, women's only pay-per-views from the WWE, notwithstanding that they went to Saudi Arabia where no women were allowed on the card, but, that's a slightly different subject. But, and then the whole Ronda Rousey, involvement that she had. Is that something that you feel is been a logical outcome of what you were expecting, or have you sort of seen it and said, they still haven't really treated it the way I was hoping that it would be treated?
Well, I mean, it seems like it's seasonal and maybe depends on who's in charge of that. It does seem to kind of, ebb and flow. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it looks like it's going to be really good, and this is what it should be. Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks and
Bailey, another friend of mine, Bailey,
Natalia Hart. Who else have I watched? And Becky, the Irish girl. Yeah, their matches. I've watched some of their matches, and I can honestly say when I see them, I'm like, yep, I've had a match just like that. And I'm like, I'm glad that it's finally mainstream pro wrestling TV. Yay. Excellent.
Oh, good.
Then when it reverts back and it starts with this stupid, oh, that's my boyfriend. Yeah. Don't look at my boyfriend. Yeah. Listen, none of us are going to fight for some dude. I'm sorry. I care less. Go. Shoo. Go on.
Yeah.
Go be with her then. Bye.
Now let's talk about something that you will fight for, and that is your dogs. I'm really interested to hear about your dog charities and what you do for animals. All right. And Evan, if you just want to take off and just me and Angela talk for the rest of the hour, we're fine here. I'm good. Just kidding.
So I started a rescue foundation in the name of my grandmother, Jean Mattei Orsini Foundation. And I always had a soft spot for animals. My grandmother taught me that. That's what I used to do with my grandmother ever since I was very young. We would find injured animals and nurse them back to health. Everything. Birds, mice, bunnies, squirrels, cats, dogs, everything. So my heart for animals is something that's always been in my life. It's my youngest memories. We had dogs, we had rabbits, we had everything. So, but now in this, older, more mature time of my life, I'm able to really become more aware of how animal control and animal management is done in this country. And it's very archaic. And it seems like it's managed in a very lazy way. And so I took my heart and my passion that I have for animals, and I'm trying to apply it online, doing campaigning against euthanizing animals for space. I think it's totally wrong. I think it's cruel because animals are living beings. They have a soul, they have feelings, they have a will, they want to live, they don't want to die. And I think it's really a lot of embedded people in the system who don't want to let go of their jobs and their way of doing things the old way. And it's all over the country. And I think it's worse in the southern states than it is in other places. And I really think that we need to address it in a more of a standard, and let's come into the 21st century with how we manage this, because the facts are that we kill dogs and cats every day just for space in shelters. And really, we have a shortage of dogs, domestic dogs in this country, because people are importing animals from other countries. As a matter of fact, in like South Korea, they're shutting down all their dog trade for meat, dog meat trade. Right,
Good.
they're passing laws over there, and the animals that they save from these dog meat farms, okay, they're shipping over here and getting adopted out over here. People are paying a lot of money to import dogs from another country. Now, it's great and it's generous, but meanwhile, there's like 30,000 dogs dying just for space. If we could just redistribute them, and have a better system of managing this and doing more of an animal advocate, and actually, because this works, getting campaigns together for these dogs and raising funds for them to go to a rescue, get the treatment that they need, and then just they need that little bit of time to find their forever family. And that's we need. We need to implement that kind of a system and change things so that these animals aren't dying because, oh, they've been here for 8 weeks and nobody adopted them, so they have to die. It's ridiculous. It's a travesty. And it's shame on us that we've let it go on for this long, quite frankly. So,
there seems to be a very strong bond between wrestlers and their dogs. I'm not sure, there's no scientific study on it, but every wrestler that I know pretty much has a dog and they're really, really attached to them. Do you think there is something about what wrestling is about and dogs that somehow are intertwined in your mind?
I don't know. I just know that dogs are really good humans, in their heart and their soul. They're just wonderful. They love you. They're loyal, and just and cats too. Cats have a little bit of a personality thing, but they're just loving and they will give you unconditional love. And I think wrestlers were so hard on our body that energy of that love, that the animals give us helps us heal and helps us decompress and get ready for our next, out on the road tour that we have to put our bodies through. And yeah, it's just good for the soul. I mean, I have 3 dogs and they're all rescues. They're only 2 of them are left over from my actual rescue trip that I did. I went down to Texas and rescued 21 dogs personally.
Wow.
And I drove all the way back with 21 dogs by myself. And I only have 2 of them left that I decided to keep. One is she has so much anxiety because somebody did something to this dog. I mean, they really abused her. And I just couldn't in good faith ever adopt her out to somebody because she needs a special level of care. And the other one, he's only 5 pounds. So he doesn't take up very much space. So I was like, okay, you can stay.
Are they near the camera now? Can you?
They're knocking to come in. Here, I'll let them in. Hey, you guys want to come in?
We are pet friendly show.
Yeah.
Come here, Chico.
We've had cats and dogs and
come here.
People's kids all
here,
hang out.
Sweetheart. Oh, here he is.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh,
adorable.
What's his name?
Chico.
Chico. Very cute.
Don't try to make out with me.
Very cute. Oh, that's
right.
good. You really get to see the human side of people when they show what dogs mean to them. I think that's really wonderful. Oh, that's really wonderful.
They're playing, and I guess hey, don't be so stiff with him.
Yeah.
He's like a moose compared to him. She's 30 pounds. He's 5 pounds,
So, Angel, while we're on the topic of humanitarian efforts, tell us about your work in the arts. I know you're doing a lot with musicians, and tell us all about that.
Well, I am a co-founder of the New England Music Hall of Fame, and I'm the CEO. We are here to educate, promote, unite communities and musicians in the New England area, and also to connect them with the rest of the world and highlight them and support them. Um, we originally, when COVID hit, we had this induction ceremony that we were gonna give awards to a select selected, nominated inductees, amazing musicians, and we started the foundation with the intention of celebrating people who maybe in the past, for political reasons, were overlooked. Their talent was overlooked, and they didn't get the recognition they deserved. Um, Especially minorities and women. Um, so that's one of our goals, and we also on also sexual orientation. That's we are an inclusive organization. We're looking to highlight and celebrate diversity in music. And originally, when COVID hit, we were going to cancel everything and just postpone it. But then, I thought about it and I was like, we have been not just COVID, but all the other stuff that's going on that's causing division among our different populations in our country. And I just thought, our country needs us now. The world needs us now so that we can be, an example and show people this is how you treat each other. There's nothing to be afraid of. Yes, we acknowledge that we're different and we have different cultures. We have different, maybe a little bit how we express that. But it's not for us to be afraid of each other because of that. You know, Underneath this skin, it looks exactly the same, and you can't tell what language I speak or what my religion is, or what color my skin is, when as soon as you peel me back one layer. So I think it's time is now to give people hope and also some relief, because we're a nonprofit organization. So we're hoping to do some fundraising, and then we want to do a musicians relief fund, and then we want to do a scholarship program for people who are talented youth in musically, to ensure that we always have an upcoming musicians, from New England, that to help them, support them, and help them become successful. So it's really important because we don't want to lose the wonderful. Um, we don't want to lose music, because music, quite frankly, it brings us together. It helps us heal. It motivates us when we're challenged and we have to overcome things. Music is so important for us to express what's going on and help each other learn about each other on a different level that all the other stuff doesn't matter.
I tell people all the time, when you're at a concert, a great concert, on stage you have every race, creed, color, age, sexual orientation. In the audience, ditto, and it's like the most beautiful experience. Everybody's together, nobody's fighting, nobody's arguing about politics, nobody's, it's just, you could just, it's the best of what we do, a great concert. And I tell people all the time, I tell Buddy every week, I go, I miss the concerts. I miss more than anything, more than wrestling, more than boxing, more than movies. Movies you can watch on TV. I miss the concerts more than anything. Seriously. Yeah.
Do you play an instrument, Angela?
No, I have no musical talent whatsoever. My talents are purely, from a business point of view. I'm creating the structure, and we're putting out a newsletter. We're going to be connecting people through that, through blogging. We have a Facebook. We are creating our YouTube channel. We're going to be memorializing the people that we induct, to ensure that the historical content of their contribution be, archived. and not forgotten. And I think this is really important because we always need to look back and see where we came from, right? And because that helps us make sure we stay in the right trajectory going forward, right? And so we're going to continue to do this every year. We're going to have like a class of people that we induct for their contributions across all genres. And then we're also going to give people who are aspiring new talents awards and recognition for what they're doing and what they've achieved so far as well. And then also we're connecting the musicians to different communities in New England and different venues. And then we're going to be doing a lot of streaming events. So everything that we do, we're not just doing it live, but we're recording it. We're going to, you know, New England Music Hall of Fame is owned by Tag Team Friendship, which we started off as a production company and doing films. So what we're doing now is we converted that into a nonprofit organization, and we want to expand that to not just creating films, but we're going to also teach people how to become involved in films and how to produce, how to get involved in that aspect of production. And so that's why the New England Music Hall of Fame is kind of an extension of that, but it's more focused on music instead of everything, instead of just film, because film is everything. Film can be documentaries, it can be sci-fi, it's a lot, right? So, but with the New England Music Hall of Fame, it focuses on musicians and the people who love music, which is pretty much everybody.
Could you do us a huge favor when you're done with this show? Could you please post all the links to these particular groups on our Facebook page so that our listeners can follow up with this? Because I think that we will have a lot of people that are interested in what you're doing and would like to know more about it. So we'd love to get them connected with you if you can provide those links to us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm also starting to launch another business that's all about life coaching and helping people through change and manage feelings and manage stress. And it's going to incorporate everything that I have learned from martial arts. We do meditation. We teach about mindfulness and how that can help. I'm a certified life coach and in neuroscience. So we use neuroplasticity also to help people change, overcome bad habits, start new hobbies, new careers even. I'm very excited about that. And yeah, so I'll gladly post. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out pretty soon, actually. We have October 18th. The New England Music Hall of Fame is going to be inducting 4 of the inductees at the Shaboo in Connecticut. And that's on the New England Music Hall of Fame Facebook page. And it'll be also on the website, all the details about that. But we'll be inducting the Shaboo in D.A. Lefty Fosser and Christine Ullman and Cliff Goodwin. So I'm really excited about that. That'll be our first induction ceremony. It's not our event. The event is for the bread box and there was something else, but I'll post it on the Facebook.
There you go. And Angel, we're short on time, and we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about what were your greatest ECW memories?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would say my greatest ECW memory were the matches with Jerry Lynn, RVD. Of course, I was involved in the tag team tournament they had in 2000 with Simon Diamond and Johnny Swinger. So the tag team tournament is very memorable for me because I was involved in all those matches. So that was the highlight of it for me. Over the moon about that. That was just awesome. And then getting to work with Jazz, she's still amazing. I mean, what a amazing talent. Um, she's getting inducted into the Cauliflower Alley Club, being honored. And originally, when it was scheduled to be in Las Vegas, I was going to be inducting her. So I don't know how that's going to work out now, but
You should be inducted. Why not?
Well, I might not be done yet. I don't know.
Okay, fine. If you're still holding out for, being able to get back in the ring, I won't hold that against you. But
I'm kind of holding out. Yeah. I went through some things in my career because of the seedier end of wrestling when you're a woman, how things can be, the casting couch, and then what happens when you refuse to go that route, And so I just kind of...
And that pressure has been there.
Always, yeah.
It's always there, and it's there for every woman that is serious about being a competitor. You feel, unless you're like lucky enough to be like Charlotte Flair or something like that, related to Ric Flair, you're going to be subjected to that. That's one thing I've always suspected. I mean, I know from talking to Sarah that sort of thing, and cheerleader Melissa, that those things really are very real, but it's still there, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah. And, I just need to remove myself from that kind of, and it just became more and more prevalent. And, listen, it's called a hostile work environment for a reason. If I wasn't an independent contractor, none of that stuff would be allowed in any other corporation. It's not allowed, because you're an employee, but when you're an independent contractor, you're not. And so that's a little loophole how they get away with that stuff. So I just, we have the film company now, and I'm able to be involved in art and act in a way that I can, have a little bit more say in how the roles that I'm involved with. And that does matter to me, because I don't want to be involved in things that objectify women in a way that they can only be a sex object. I'm sorry. I can't.
You don't have to apologize for that. In fact, don't, because I've got a 9-year-old daughter that, I'm hoping can grow up in a environment where, she's not subjected to the sort of things that you've been subjected to. And that leads me to a difficult question that's been on my mind. I wanted to ask you. I'm not sure how to phrase it the right way. So please do not be offended by where I'm going with this. But the attack that happened to you, it changed your life. Do you think that the vivacity that you have, and the drive and the goals that you have now, would be the same if that attack hadn't happened?
I do think they would have been the same, because I was always really, really driven. I was the kind of person that had to be on the honor roll every semester. I'm an achiever. And so, but the way that kind of pivoted me was in the trajectory, because it was a physical thing that happened. So I took all of that drive and motivation that I had, and then applied it to that instead of something else.
But do you ever think about like what your life would be like if that attack hadn't occurred?
I do. And, I don't see it being that different. I think I would have ended up in the same place. It would have been a different route, because I do believe that this was I believe that was my destiny, that it is my destiny, my purpose, the things that I'm doing now, because I have a lifestyle of mindfulness and meditation and self-reflection, that I am aware of who I am and my character and my strengths and my weaknesses. So I was kind of bound to end up where I'm at, but I just maybe might have gotten there a different route or in a different timing, but I would end up there.
Is there anything that you feel that you regret because of the choices that you've made, or that you would have maybe felt like you should have maybe had a more different or traditional lifestyle? Or do you look back on the things that you've done and say, if I did it all over again, I'd do it exactly the way that I've done it.
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I don't have any regrets. That mindfulness stuff really does work. It allows for that clarity, and you're able to assess risk and reward in a more grounded way instead of being like a little grandiose, I think. And I think if I didn't have that kind of awareness, then I maybe would be have been a little bit more grandiose and not so level-headed and grounded, and that would have been the way to make a mistake. I would say my only mistakes and my only regrets are that I didn't drink responsibly at a certain little point in my life, and I got myself into a little bit of trouble with DUIs. And that was because I veered off my path of mindfulness and meditation and just, lost my grounding and made some bad choices. But we're allowed to make mistakes. If we were perfect, then we'd be there already, right? Be doing it already. So it's the process, and you have to allow yourself the failure, because if you don't, you're never going to get to the success. You'll never have the victory. If there was no battle, you wouldn't know how strong you really are, and you wouldn't get any stronger or smarter if you didn't have a battle or a challenge to overcome. It's very necessary in order for you to grow. It's just like you look at a basketball player, right? And you look at how many shots do they take, how many times do they miss? The thing is, they don't get caught up on missing. They get caught up on their next opportunity and making it matter that next time they get their shot. And this is what life is. That's just a metaphor. But you're going to get opportunities, and some of those opportunities you're going to mess up, and that's okay, because it's getting you ready for the next opportunity that you're not going to mess up, because you'll learn the lesson, and then you're not going to make it again. And then, boom, you go to the next level.
Well, I just find everything that you're talking about to be just fascinating. I mean, I just from your philosophy on your life to your incorporation of the martial arts and your techniques and all of that stuff. The only regret that I have personally is that we're just about out of time.
Oh,
so,
that's a good one.
Yeah, well, it's true. This hour we have fast hours, but this one moved super fast. I mean, I can't even believe that we're right up against the clock. And I want to make sure that you can tell everyone how they can get in touch with you, how they can find out about, your projects and promote whatever you want to promote right now, because this time is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Well, people can always find me on Twitter. I'm the Angel Orsini. And then I'm also on Facebook, also as the Angel Orsini. I do have a personal Facebook page that's in my full legal name, Archangela Orsini. And that's a good one to connect to, because that's connected to the New England Music Hall of Fame and Elevated Living and Tag Team Friendship. I also have a website that's www.angelorsini.net. So
that's great.
Once you get there, and the New England Music Hall of Fame website is New England Music, H for Hall, O for of, F for Fame.com.
And when's the next big announcement coming for the Hall of Fame?
We are going to release our newsletter October 1st. And
Good.
Then we're going to start our social media campaign after that for our YouTube channel. And then you'll get connected through everything if you get on that newsletter, which is a free newsletter. So you can go to our website, and on the contact part, you can fill out that form, check that you want the newsletter. Voila, you'll be getting the newsletter.
Fantastic. Do you have any other final words that you'd like to impart our viewers with?
I would just like everybody to know that, it's through these dark times that we are made. And tough people, that's how we get made, is we go through tough times, and just remember that no matter how dark it gets, don't ever give up. you know, the light defines the darkness. So don't let the darkness snuff out the light of hope. You have a chance. We all have a chance. It's never too late. And you always, in the next moment, can make a different decision. And it's a new moment to do something different. And there's always hope there. So just hold on to hope, because the truth is the light defines the darkness and overwhelms it. So keep your spark lit.
Wow, that's really fantastic. Do you have any last question for Angel before we sign out?
I just want to do a quick shout out to our buddy Chris Anino, who's done a lot of work with both of us over the years. And I'd also like to thank Steve Ludwig, who recently did a show with Buddy and myself and went the extra yard of actually doing a side program with our musical favorites. So
it was wonderful. It was a
Steve
wonderful
Ludwig, planetludwig.com. And everybody, of course, check out 350 Days, starring superstar Billy Graham and Bret Hart and 3 dozen legends.
And Wendy Richter, who was
Wendy Richter,
So we can.
Angel, Wendy Richter in the film says, what was I supposed to do? Have a baby and put her on the ring apron, you know, because the women wrestlers sacrifice. She talks about that in 350 Days.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, you know, I'm doing radio 30 years. Angel's inspirational. No, really. Seriously, I mean that sincerely. Yeah.
Thank you.
This has been a really wonderful interview. I've really enjoyed every minute of it, and we would absolutely love to have you back again as a guest. You know, if you've got another project you're promoting, or just want some people to take some dogs off your hands, you know, we're happy to help out here at Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast.
Thank you so much. I'd love to come back and talk about how the event went.
Great. You know? We would love to have you back.
You could even bring some of the musicians, because this is wrestling and everything. It's not just
wrestling.
We
could patch them in. We could interview some of the musicians too on our show. We'd love to have them. So.
Oh, well, thank you. We'll definitely take you up on that offer.
There you go.
You guys have been terrific. Thank you so much. Thank you kindly for having me and everything. And
it's been our privilege.
Yeah, definitely. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angel.
Thank you to all the listeners, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you.